Hump Day! Welcome, everybody, to Coffee Hour. My name is Paul Abernathy, and I am the host of Coffee Hour with Paul. Duh. Thanks for joining me here every morning at 8 a.m. Eastern Time for a little bit of electrical, a little bit of a discussion about electrical. All things good, seeing who you are, where you're from. Do me a favor in the chat. Let me know who you are, where you're from, and all that good stuff. And I have an announcement today, live, an announcement. Again, also for all you out there that are, it's not just the East Coast, okay? It is everywhere. Weather advisories, it's hot. It's going to get upwards of 100 degrees. Make sure you stay hydrated. Again, no job needs to be completed to the point where we have problems with all of our workers. So look, take your time. Look at that. Look at all the CMECPs that are showing up into the rooms. Jason's up in here. Okay. You know, we got David up in here, all sporting their CMECP. Well, you know what? I guess that's a good time to do my announcement. I mean, we got all these CMECPs showing up in force here. So, got an announcement today. First of all, y'all all are aware of the Certified Master Electrical Co-Professional Program. It is a program that's pretty much self-monitored in a sense that once you become a CMECP, it's your responsibility to foster the CMECP out everywhere, represent it, let people know about it, be proud of it. How you marketing and advertise it is totally up to you. It's a voluntary program, voluntary system that's designed to just help take your game to the next level. And that's what the CMECP program is all about. You see, we have the hats and the lapel pins that I happen to just put on my hat all the time, all that kind of stuff. But and of course you have this the CMECP coins and all that kind of good stuff. Well, I am pleased to announce here live on the air on June 26th, Thomas Yingling is our latest CMECP, and Thomas, congratulations. I was going to just do it in an email, and I will do that, our traditional follow-up email and your certificate and all that kind of good stuff. But I wanted to congratulate you live here on June 25th. I have not read your essay. I shared it with the CMECPs, and as the rules go in our bylaws, I need a minimum of 3 of the majorities to come back with a thumbs up. And we easily got that. There's only a few that are still outstanding, but it would not sway the numbers. So congratulations, Tom. You are our newest CMECP. And I will say you did set a record for the time going through the program. And so congratulations and welcome to the family. Okay, it's a very elite group. Most of these CMECPs know that they may get 1 or 2 essays a year, maybe. And that is because most people don't make it that far. They literally either drop out, run out of time. Now that we reduced it to 4 months, most people just don't finish because life gets in the way. And one of the things about a CMECP is time management. So subconsciously, what we're trying to do is force you to do something within a time period. Now, if you're like Tom, okay, and he was very focused on it, then he can be able to finish it easily. But there's many people that can't finish through it. Again, we're not reinventing the wheel here. It's code. But we're very strict on it. In other words, we don't give you the ability to debate. We teach it one way, and you have to accept that way. And then you're answering questions. You have to get into the mind of how we're asking the question and things like that. So it's really not a debatable type process. And so once you get past the 4-month period, right, they have to do the proctored recorded exam. Now we record that and keep that on file. And then once you get past that, then you move to the essay portion. Now it used to be where you had a one-on-one. And David, I don't remember if you were, if you became a CMECP, if you did the essay or you were one of the last that did the one-on-one with the other members, that type of thing. But at either rate, we switched to the essay version simply because of coordinating time. We're respectful of everybody's time. Everybody's busy. So that's why we did that. So that's the essay. And it doesn't mean that we may never, ever go back to the where we have the panel of CMECPs and that type of thing. So you never know. But at this time, congratulations again to Thomas Yingling. No relation to the beer, I'm sure. He wishes he was, I'm sure, but he's not, I don't think. So anyway, congratulations on that achievement. Okay. Where some people find it tougher than others, some people don't. And the reason is, and excuse me, I almost didn't do a show today because I am suffering from a cold. Last night I sweat like a pig all night long and feel miserable. But the show must always go on. And so that's where we're at. So some people find the CMECP process easy. Now, funny thing, CMECP, what do you do with it? What does it mean to you as a master electrician or equivalent? Marketing, how you use it, how you promote it. Things are only as robust as you brew it. In other words, you have to share it. You have to put it on your business cards. You have to promote it to your boss or whoever you work with and let them know the accomplishment. We'll validate it if they want to call. You have to put it on your marketing, your advertising. If you're a contractor, you have to market and advertise it so that you show that you stand out. People say, is that tooting your own horn? Damn right it is. Because you did it. You achieved it. So again, I think a lot of people don't understand the difference between certification, licensing, and even accreditation. Accreditation is sought out by organizations who maybe get government funding. We don't need any government funding. The CMECP program doesn't need it. It's self-funded, okay? And it probably could be more widespread promoted than I do it, but it's because I'm the executive director and I'm wearing a lot of hats. At some point, it might reduce the number of hats that I wear down to Academy and this, and you'll probably see me more out and about promoting this because I think this is a big deal. I think that I'm not going to try to force organizations to accept it. I'm not going to try to convince states to accept this in order to have equivalency licensing like you can with whatever they call it, that state, that licensing that they want to accept in every state. I'm not going to do all that. That is not our effort. It's a voluntary process. It's for self-awareness, self-education, and it's all only as good as you choose to market it. And we have a very open marketing program. It means that you can use this logo, you can use the phrase, we have the trademarks. However you use it to promote you and your business, we support, okay? So again, congratulations, Tom. Let's do some shout outs to everybody here this morning before we get into talking about some code questions. What's up, Frank? Good morning. It is indeed hump day. Thanks for joining me. Paul, welcome. Thanks for joining me as always. David down there, be careful, David, down there in the Sunshine State because the storms that roll in down there get pretty fierce. Up here in Virginia, it's just going to be freaking hot. Now, we do have some storms in the next couple of days, but yeah, I worry more about the heat. Now, I have a brand new air conditioner, so I hope nothing happens to that. But the heat is brutal, and I thought it was bad in Texas, but here it is humid hot, that type of thing. What's up? Good morning, Crypto. Thanks for being. I know it's humid down there in Florida too. What's up, Usal? Good morning. Welcome. There we go. Thomas, our latest CMECP. Good morning. 2 a.m. And the dude, look, that is a CMECP if ever. 2 a.m. Okay, and he is on and joins us at 2 a.m. in Honolulu. Dude, he's in paradise, and the man is on coffee hour. Tell me if that ain't a reason to be a CMECP right there. What's up? Jason, good morning. Another CMECP in the room. Look at that. Got the CMECP logo. There you go. There's a good example of marketing. There you go, Jason. Hopefully you have that on your business cards everywhere, and you promote it proudly. Jason, all you as CMECPs, if y'all have not gotten your coins, please reach out to me so I can make sure you get your coin. I guess because you're the only ones that will get these. So let me know. And we're also working on a metal identification card for CMECPs, an engraved card. So we are working on that. So you'll get it free as a CMECP. We'll get it out to you once they're done. Okay. Let's see here. Frank, welcome, out in Los Angeles. He's up early too, okay? 5 a.m., I believe, out there. What's up, Manny? What's up? Out in Wyoming, Code Nerds in the house, loving the green hoodie. Let's go. Haas, good morning, up in Richmond area, Richmond, Virginia, right up the road. Stay hydrated today, Haas. It is going to be a hot one. Erie, understood the assignment. Absolutely. Good morning, and he is a fast track student. Sweet. There you go. Good morning. New place is in the house. This is your new place right here. Right here. Coffee hour every morning. Appreciate you. There you go. Jason throwing out some shout outs to his fellow CMECP. There you go. Thomas thanking everybody. Boom, boom, boom. Thomas, we had so many great reports. Like I said, I don't read the essays. That's part of our bylaws. Now I can read it because the voting's done. But everybody praised. You said that it was so short and you had a longer one. Sometimes longer is not better. But everybody praised the article. So your essay. So I'm now going to take a chance to read it. And I'll let you know. He said it was a great essay. David said he did the essay too. Okay. I figured we've been in the essay for a while now. COVID is since we started the essay part. What's up, Marlon? At some point, we may go back to the panel. I don't know. Again, it takes a lot of time to get everybody coordinated because they're all over the country. And it usually makes the CMECP have to wait longer because of getting everybody together, that type of thing. What's up, Rob? Good morning. Shouting out to all the Sparkies out there. Let's see. Oh, that's okay. Yeah, David did it on 1 and 2 family dwellings. Okay. I have a terrible memory for things like that, David. Let's see here. What's up, Red Dog? Hold on. I got my Red Dog music.
Woo, 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 woo. Big dog.
Working out in Cali. Oh yeah, Jason. So Jason did the 1-on-1, which was the where you have the 4. Was it 5? It was a CMECPs, and they asked the question to the candidate, and the candidate has to appease the person that asked the question. Okay, probably a little more cringy than the essay was. Okay, but Jason might have been one of the few that went through that program. That the last ones that went through the CMECP, where the last stage was that. Okay, let's see. Good morning, Brandon, from down in Houston. I will tell you, one of the things I will tell you about the CMECP, for all those out there that are haters of it and say that, oh, Paul, it's just Paul's certification grab, I will remind you, and these CMECPs will back me up, we have not initiated a renewal fee. We haven't charged them another dime since original. We haven't done it. Now, not to say we won't initiate a renewal because that's on the agreement, but we haven't done it. I haven't initiated. I haven't done renewal requirements, all that kind of stuff. So if it was a money grab, then we'd be trying to get renewal fees all the time. It's not how it works. That's not the importance. This was a mission that I set out to do, to just try to make the industry better, make master electricians even better. That was my goal. That's what I was trying to do with this program. Whether somebody likes it or not, it's voluntary. I love how people hate on stuff, and it's voluntary. If you don't like it, just don't do it. That type of thing. It's amazing. Especially over on those Mike Holt forums. I love Mike, but his forum, which Mike doesn't go on, by the way. He told me that personally the other day at breakfast. He says he doesn't go on that forum. They monitor it, but he doesn't go on there. It's a forum for other people, and they have moderators. Well, some of those moderators are awful. I mean, they're just personal agendas. George Stoltz, terrible moderators. That is not what you want to have as a moderator. Too opinionated. Right? When it's a moderator, you just have to be neutral. That's the problem with TikTok. Moderators, too opinionated. Now, if you want to comment and you want to argue, that's fine. But when you're a moderator, you should not come on and you take a responsibility, that type of thing. On my forums, I'm not a moderator. In other words, it's not a democracy. It means if you try to take some conversation to crap, right, then what happens is we'll just block it. Because we're not going to let the conversation go to crap on those forums. I'm just saying. What's up, Santana? Good morning. Well, Anthony's got a question. Now, we're going to talk code questions today, Anthony. Dude, you know the story. You must be new here, Anthony. You must not come here very often, right? Paul wants to talk. He wants to talk about 210.8 exception expiring. Can you explain the conflicts with the GSCI protection and the condensing units, that type of thing? No, what I'm going to tell you is that there's a known condition, and that was the reason the exception came up. And so it's based on frequency, and the manufacturers of the units say that they can't meet or correct this by September 1st, 2026. That's why they came to the NITMAMs and tried to get it changed to September 1st, 2029. And the panel rejected it. The members rejected it. So it's going to go back to the vote. And the voting members are going to probably put it back to the way it was in the second draft, which means it's going to expire September 1st. What are the ramifications? The same issues, the same ramifications we're going to have is what we had in order to create the exception. You're going to have certain HVAC units that are just not going to function or trip out of GFCI. And we're going to have states and localities and jurisdictions impose their own things to circumvent the NEC, which is what actually got the exception in there in the first place, unless the manufacturers can step up to the plate. Now, some of the manufacturers, breaker manufacturers, say that there's an SP GFCI or there's an HF or HF Plus that are designed for different frequency applications that will allow, because those units create a frequency that's different than the 60 hertz. And what happens is they're designed to kind of filter out those issues. But UL 943 isn't out yet. There's no standard for it. There's no finalized scenario. So rather than get into the nuances of the technical reason why, it's irrelevant why. It is what it is. They say they don't work. So if you want to get into electrical theory about that, you need to go to somebody else's channel, because I don't get into that. I'm a code guy. So I'm just telling you that they say they don't work. The exception is there. So the ramifications are, as of September 1st, 2026, it doesn't matter whether you're in the 2020 or the 2023 or the proposed 2026. Once that expires, it's basically the exception goes away. And the implications are that the same reason the exception was generated is going to be an issue where they're not going to work properly. That creates a problem. Now, this also was caused a big problem during the NITMAMs for a condensate pump. So the condensate pumps create a frequency that causes a problem at the GFCIs, and the manufacturers wanted to not, people wanted to not have to put GFCI on the condensate pump. And people argued that well, look. And then the people that argued it were the home builders, because they said, oh, they will stop working and the condensate pump will trip out the GFCI because of compatibilities, frequency issues, and all those type of things. We just use compatibility as an easy way to say they won't work together. Okay, so when people say compatibility, it's an easier way to say shit's not working right. And so if the GFCI trips out, okay, and it's not due to a ground fault or anything like that, or leaky current, it trips out, then they're saying that condensate pump can cause the water to overflow and then cause mold and all this kind of stuff. And I think that's irrelevant, to be honest with you. I really do. I think that we cannot concern ourselves about the potential of mold and all that other crap when it comes to electrical safety. We have to worry about electrical safety. If you can have a condensate pump, for example, in a crawl space, and they were arguing to not put it on GFCI, right? Which basically, if the receptacle's down there, it has to be on GFCI. So they were pushing for that. Well, a sump pump still has to be on GFCI, regardless of whether you like it or not. If the sump pump stops working, the basement fills up with water. Well, guess what? It is what it is. My parents' house has been doing that for, gosh, I don't know how many years before we finally put a sump pump in. But the reality is, it is what it is, and the house is still standing. So I can't worry about mold and crap when people can actually get electrocuted from this stuff, okay? Documented cases. So that didn't work out well for them. So still, any receptacle that's in a basement is going to be GFCI protected. Same as a crawl space. So that didn't work out. So I don't know if that's enough detail for you, Anthony, but the issue is, it is an issue because we have the exception for a reason in 210.8F. And if the deadline passes, then it's got to be GFCI protected. Now, in the 2026, they are introducing a Class C SP GFCI, which is supposedly going to be okay. But the question now is going to arise is, if that's a higher milliamp value, then is that going to be a situation where it's now not personnel protection because it's higher than the 5 milliamp nominal? And the code panel accepted it as an option. So again, a lot of arguments are going to be made for that type of thing. So, but that's where we're at. Okay. And you really wanted that question discussed, Anthony, because you posted it twice. Good morning, Angel. Glad to have you here. What's up, Tino? What's up? Tino says he got the coin and the wire waffle. There you go. Good deal. Good deal. Glad you got him. He said, I don't know why that showed up twice. Because you posted it twice, bro. All right, let's see here. What's up? What's up, JPB? Morning. Thomas says, I drink plenty of Yingling beer on special occasions, like every Friday night. That's right. All right, let's see here. What's up? Edgar, welcome. Glad to have you here. Angel, welcome. Everybody's throwing the hashtag win. Make sure you get that in. Adrian, good morning. Welcome. I want to get to the lesson here. What's up, David? Good morning. Glad to have you here. Man, we got a lot of people in here today. What's up, Robert? Glad to have you here, Robert. Let's see. Battle says it's been 100 degrees here the past few days. It is just terrible heat everywhere. Okay. Again, I guess now what's going to happen is we're going to see all this stuff about global warming come circulate around again. They forget how cold it was and wet it was. Now we're going to, it's about that time for everybody to start doing the global warming thing. All the icebergs are melting and, whatever. Let's see here. What is that? Grizzle, Dizzle, Hazeltoff? I have no idea what that means. Hey, what's up, Jonathan? Fast Track students in the house. Let's go. Marlon says I will be starting the CMEC program soon. Still on startup with a new electrical business. Yeah, that's important. Get your business going. How's the excavator? It's sitting out there in the heat under a cover. I hope it starts because I haven't been on that sucker for almost a month now. I'm just saying. Let's see. David says, what are the qualifications to become a CMECP? Go visit cmecp.org. cmecp.org. You need to go see it. Qualifications to get in the program is you have to be a master electrician or equivalent. So if you're like in Ohio, which doesn't have a master's, they have a journeyman's, voluntary, but they have a contractor. Contractor, if you can become an electrical contractor, then that's called equivalent to master. The only exception to that is when we review it. For example, if you're in Texas, you can be an owner of an electrical contracting business, but not a master electrician. You can't do the electrical work, but you can be the owner. Just because you're the owner of the electrical contracting business doesn't qualify you for the CMECP, okay? So it has to be one where you actually took a test to be a contractor, electrical contractor. Not like in Texas where I can be a hairdresser. That's not obvious, but I could be a hairdresser, but I decide I want to open an electrical contracting business. I can do that as long as I hire a dedicated master electrician. Well, I could not be a CMECP because I have not tested for the license. You get what I'm saying? So that's what we research. And when you submit your information, that's what we look into to determine whether or not you truly tested at a master level. Okay. Now, we also have a journeyman program. Now, the journeyman program is for everybody out there that's buying our Fast Track programs who ultimately want to become a master electrician, but they can't do it in 4 months and they're not a master, so they can't get in the program. So they join our journeyman program. And the only caveat there is they do get 12 months to finish our program, so they get a lot more time. And the reason for that is so that you can study as well in order to be able to take your master's. Because the whole goal of the journeyman program for the CMECP is to become a master. So basically we're prodding you want to be a master. So within 12 months, you have to have passed your master's exam while you're in the journeyman program. And then that just jumps you up to the, immediately when you're done, that jumps you up to the proctored exam stage. That's all that does, okay? But you have to be a master to jump into the master program or equivalent, okay? Anthony says, does this have anything to do with the current imbalance or simply a Hertz problem? I think that it actually is a little of both. I think that there is the amount of leakage current that these appliances allow is probably outside of the scope, which is probably why they want to let the SPs work, because that goes up to like 20 milliamps. So if that is the leakage current and nobody's been holding them accountable. So for the condensate pumps or the condensates, I think it's a combination of frequency issue. And I know that's a frequency issue with some of the EVSE issues with the GFCI. But I think more often it's also a problem with leakage current. And I think that's why the only reason I can think of that a normal SPs, which is really just a higher milliamps, I could be wrong. That's a question for somebody like Thomas Dimitrovich or whatever on Eaton and all them, whether he'll give you the truth or not. I don't know. But at the end of the day, that's then more of a question on that. But again, I believe it's probably a combination of both, but probably more so the leakage current because they've never been held accountable for a value of leakage. Now, once you start having higher than 5 milliamps, then we start questioning whether or not it's really GFCI. In other words, is it meeting the personnel safety? Okay, and that is the whole reason for the whole damn thing, right? So that's why you have the exception for HVAC, which when it expires, it's going to require GFCI. Then they have to go to the Class C, and it's a much higher milliamp than the normal Class A. And I don't know whether it meets safety. I mean, they have to have researched it. They put it in the code, so I guess it does. I never really dug deep into it, but they do. They are going to give you more options. Okay. Good morning, David. Welcome. Let's see here. Let's see where we go. Battles says he got it. Got his wallet and his wire waffle. Awesome. There you go. Let's see. Leo says yesterday someone asked about 240. I think it was 2,400 VA per ton. The answer was no. We go. I don't know. I mean, if you're doing just simple, I mean, I don't know. I don't do rule of thumbs, guys. I really don't. Other than the 2 foot, 4 foot rule of thumb. So if you have 2,400 and you divide it by 240, it's 10 amps. I don't know anything about tonnage, BTUs. I'm an electrician. I just read nameplates. The nameplate tells me to do this, I do this. I don't get into rule of thumbs. I don't care this per ton. I don't. I look at the nameplate, tells me minimum circuit ampacity, maximum. That's all I do as an electrician. And on HVAC systems, the only thing I do is I will replace capacitors because I think the HVAC guys charge too damn much to replace a simple capacitor. Okay. I got a lady who called me one day that was like $300 some to replace a damn $14 capacitor. And she was in my neighborhood. It's back when I was in Texas. I said, ma'am, I'll come over and take care of it for you. I picked her up one and did it and charged my normal call. And it was under $100. And she could have probably learned to do it herself. But at the end of the day, I think people just, trying to make your overhead on one call is not the way to go. I watched a video somewhere where a guy was filling a pool with concrete, and it was a $49,000 job. And he turned around in the same video. He says, that's a $30,000 profit. I said, so wait a minute. It cost you $19,000 in labor in concrete, and you're going to charge a $30,000 profit? He said profit. Okay, that's a difference. We have to understand what profit. That's profits after everything. That's what profit is. Okay. I'm like, dude, that's highway freaking robbery. No wonder prices are crazy and people charge too damn much. Okay. You don't need to. And the guy said, well, overhead. And no, not $30,000 profit on a $49,000. And people are like, well, it's America, baby. Let's go. And that's the same people that bitch about other things that they're like, that's unfair. Okay. Let's be reasonable. I mean, I get it. You got to make a living, but that's robbery. I'm just saying. Haas says he received his wallet. Looks amazing. Cool. I'm glad all these things are finally making it out. Everything. Yep, Leo, I agree. Minimum maximums. Just follow the nameplates. All based on 440. That's what I follow. Just follow the nameplate. Easy peasy. What's up, Rob? Let's see here. Let me kind of go through some of these. Anthony, yes, we still offer one route if you're a master. If a journeyman, you have the journeyman route. If you're a master, there's only one route, and you have 4 months to complete it. As far as other ways, experience, for electricians, no. There is no other route. I mean, you could be doing electrical work as a handyman for 40 years. You ain't getting in the CMECP program. So no. Not that route, but go over there on the website, cmecp.org, and look for it. We do have an equivalent statement. Even an engineer cannot get in the CMECP program. I don't care if they're an electrical engineer. They cannot get in the CMECP program unless they have a certain number of years of direct experience working on electrical drawings and designing electrical systems. Because, again, we're set the bar really, really high. I don't know if we have the acceptance for IAEI anymore. It was my recommendation to the board, and now that I am the executive director, I have to go back and look at it because I believe I don't want to give anybody in the IAEI. I don't want to give anybody that holds those certifications the ability to get into the program. But again, I have to go look at it. Not that I'm totally mad at IAI. I don't know that inspections does not equate to actually being an electrician in many cases. So I have to go look at it. I can't remember if that's an allowance. If it's there now, then you can use it. But I might have to go relook at that and see if we want to get rid of that. What's up, Adam? Glad to have you here. Man, y'all a lot of folks here today. Wow. Paul, if I was you, I would use that call-in number. I don't know what you mean. I don't know what you're talking about. Call-in number. I don't want people calling into this show. Are you crazy? All right, let's go look at some code questions. I don't want you folks calling in. What the hell? I get you folks on the telephone line. Who knows what the hell happened? All right, first question. Let's say you were in exam. Now, if you're not in exam prep mode, that's fine. We're going to hone your skills, make you a little better electrician, dissect the question. We're going to kind of go through these as many as we can. All right, first one, angle connectors. This is a connector where it comes in and turns about basically a 90-degree angle connector. LFMC, liquid type flexible metal conduit, not liquid type flexible non-metallic conduit. This be metal conduit. Okay, so basically it looks like an MC cable, right? And it has the covering over it. You're sick. I'm sick. Are you saying I'm just sick? Oh, a call-in number for the show? Yeah, I couldn't call in. I also don't have a slide to put on for a day when I say no show, so that you know that it's not a live show. But I'll have to come up with something. I usually don't miss a show. I try not to miss anything. I don't think I missed a day of work back when I worked. I don't think I might have taken one sick day in 20 years. And most people would say that's because you don't work very hard, Paul. I get it. Most people would say, Paul, you don't get your hands dirty anymore. Yeah. Probably true. All right, so angle S. So the first thing that I'd notice is one of the things here is that we have to think about the fact that we're talking about connectors, right? And obviously, if we look at the list, we can do process of elimination, okay? Because some things just don't make sense, right? Angle connectors for LFMC shall not be used. So this is a shall not be used for blank raceway installations. Elevated, I don't know what that means. Exposed, why? Because LFMC is always, So, hey, this is a funny story. I don't know if Mike watches, but I believe I got my cold from Mike Holt. Okay, I believe it. Okay, so let me do it. Let me call it out. Mike, I think I got my cold from you, fella, because when we had our breakfast, you were feeling sick. You told me, you said, I feel like my throat's sore. And of course, we prayed together. We had some fellowship. We hugged. We shook hands. That type of thing. And I'm sitting there going, dude, you were getting sick. And you said you were getting sick. Well, guess what? Dude, I got sick. And I'm doing everything I can. You see my skin is all shiny. I am sweating like a pig. And it's nothing to do with these studio lights. I do not feel good, but I elevate my game because I'm a believer that when you go out into the field, this is a good example of going out in the field. I've been on a job doing electrical work back in the day where I didn't feel good, but I never conveyed that to the customer. Okay, I suck it up and wear the logos, do everything I'm supposed to do, set a good impression, do my job professionally, and then I can get sick in the truck when I leave. Okay, I've always been that way. Also, I don't believe in ever giving my baggage to the customer. They don't care about your story. They don't care about your life. They don't care about any of that stuff. Okay, so don't bring it up. They don't want to hear about it. Just talk about the job, be professional, always support your company. Don't ever talk crappy about the company you work for. The reason I mentioned that, because I had HVAC guys come over to our house in Texas, and they did nothing but bash the company they work for the whole time. That is not the way to go, okay? Not the way to go. All right. So anyway, I see a lot of people here throwing out some answers, which is great. So LFMC, we all know that is indeed Article 350. Okay, we have an article, so you could have gone to the front and saw that. Now, this is a great example, folks. If you're preparing for an exam, this is a great example where I would never go to the index for this. Because if I know, and I've done my little In fact, we have a flashcard set that's available on our website that teaches you all of the code articles and things. That just gets you better at flipping, right? So you would have known at 350. So what I would have done is I would go to the NEC, right? This is exactly how I would have done it. If I didn't know the answer, and this one's an obvious answer. Obviously, open makes no sense. Exposed makes no sense. Elevated make no sense. This is a shall not, so obviously it's concealed. But what I would have done is I would have gone straight here if I didn't know, because I know, and you know, you've been with me long enough, that 350 is very small. It's not a big article, okay? It's just about liquid type flexible metal conduit. So bold scanning is your win. And what are you looking for? You're looking for references to things like elevated, concealed, exposed, open, angle connectors, things like that. That's what you're looking for. So you bold scan it. So boom, nothing to do with it. Boom, nothing to do with it. Boom. But again, you know that all fittings have to be listed, okay? So that angle connector still has to be listed, by the way. Boom, use is not permitted. There's nothing in there about connectors. Boom, nothing. Size, nope. Number of conductors, nope. Bends, trimming, securing, support, couplings and connectors. Ding, 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 ding. Hello. All right. Here it says angle connectors shall not be concealed. Bingo. Right? Easy peasy. That took what? A few seconds. Now, obviously, you folks are savvy enough to look at a question like this and go, well, Paul, the only damn one that makes sense is concealed. But you'd be surprised. And so the whole lesson here with this question is, one, it helps to know the code article, and it also helps by your preparation. That's why we call this a structured plan, because through your preparation, you guys know that 350 is short. It's small. Why waste your time in the index? Go right to bold scanning. Done. All right? So there we go. Boom. Easy peasy. All right? We might skip some of these if I feel like they're just too easy this morning. Okay? All right? Just so we're going to cover as many as we can. Let's see. The maximum continuous load that can be placed on a 150 amp fuse is what? What do you guys think? What's the maximum? Okay, this is overcurrent protection. So don't lose sight of that. Don't lose sight that this is a 150 amp fuse, but it is overcurrent protection. Okay, but this is also just saying what? Continuous load on a 150 amp fuse. What do you think? So let's see here. I'll wait for your, let's get some questions. Let's get some answers get some participation here. 120, 140, 150, 175. Let's go. What's up, folks? Participation. Wake the hell up this morning. Let's go. I'm the one with the flu. Y'all need to get out of the bed. Let's go. I know if you're driving in the road, but I told you this should be a pretty simple one, right? Because we know that the rules, whether it's in 210, whether it's in 215, in general, that when we're talking about a continuous load, that when we're talking about overcurrent protected devices, also covered, right? And this one will assume just a typical branch circuit because it didn't state otherwise. Not that it's going to matter because it's the same principle. That we know that we can't load an overcurrent protected device more than 80% of it. Or what we do, or as you take, if you knew the conductor, you do it at 125%, right? But since we know the overcurrent protection, we're going to limit it to 80%, which is 80% is the reciprocal of 125. So why is that a beautiful lesson? David, there you go on the screen. David sharing the process, okay, is the fact that if I have a situation where I already know what the load is, all right, they already tell me what the load is, and it's a continuous load. All right, so again, if it's 39 amps of a continuous load, what is the continuous load? It's not 39 times 125%. That's the continuous load. No, the continuous load is 39 amps. The reason we do it for wire sizing at 125% is for the wire sizing. The load is the load, okay? You've heard me say that now for decades. Load is the load. 39 amps is, if it's continuous load, it's the load. Whether it's 3 hours or more at its maximum output, or the code says it's a continuous load. The code says it's a continuous load, it's a continuous load. But that's the value. For sizing conductors, we take that value and do it at 125%. And that is to size the wire for a continuous load, but it also correlates with the breaker because the typical breaker is going to be limited for continuous load, 80% of its value. Now, does that mean that I cannot load an overcurrent device up to a 20 amp device up to 20 amps? That's not what we say. Because if it's not a continuous load, I can load that sucker up to 20 amps. In fact, it will run at 20 amps and it will run continuously. Now, how does that get affected? Well, if you're in Arizona and you put the panel outside and it faces the sun and the heat builds up around it, well, that thermal threshold could get higher and it could trip more rapidly. But under test conditions, it needs to run 20 amps continuously, and it wouldn't be a problem with it, okay? The reason that we're doing this is because we know that most standard breakers, okay, not 100% rated breakers, standard breakers or standard fuses have to be limited to 80% of their value if it's a continuous load. Why? Because you take the continuous load and you do it at 125%, and that's going to equal the rating of the device, okay? So you have that built-in factor, like David shows right there on the screen. So depending on what you're given, for example, in David's example here, I'll pop that one on the screen so everybody can see it. So in David's example, if you know that it's 120 amps of continuous load, then you're like, okay, well, what breaker do I put it on? All right, well, you do the 120 times 1.25. That's also what you use to size the conductor, that type of thing. Did the load change? No, the load didn't change. It's still 120 amps of continuous load. The reason we do the 125 and all this other stuff is we're building in that fudge factor, okay? That heat buildup factor, that this design, the testing of the breakers as well as the wire, okay? That makes sense, okay? And I'll be honest with you, when we do the wire at 125%, we're really helping out the manufacturers of the breakers, okay? We're doing them a solid because our wire acts as a heat sink and it pulls heat away from the termination on the device, okay? So manufacturers of breakers out there, you're welcome. We got you. We're taking care of you, okay? All right. Let's get back here. So again, 120, and this is the reference, let's see here, right there, 210.20a. That's the one for overcurrent protection for branch circuits. Again, you have the same rules in 215 for feeder, same concept, okay? All right, good job. I see everybody throwing out the answers. That's perfect. That's what I want to see. All right, next one, folks. Derating factors in 310.15c1 shall be applied only where the number of current carrying conductors in an auxiliary gutter. Okay. Easy dissection here, okay? Auxiliary gutter including neutral conductors classified as current carrying under the provision of 310.15b5 exceeds what? Okay, so that's a lot of verbiage. But the whole point of the question here is the derating factors begin in auxiliary gutters at what conductor count value, okay? When it exceeds a certain number. Now, some of you that are savvy, you can look at this and you know the answer, okay? But for us, we're sitting there going, okay, this is another example where I'm not going to go to the index. I'm going to say, okay, well, what do I need to think about? Is like, okay, I need to think, well, what is auxiliary gutters? Since it's asking about, that's the root, okay? So that's the target. The derating is just the factor of what we need to do once we're there. But we're talking about auxiliary gutters, and we're talking about what? The conductors that go, current carrying conductors that go in it. So we're talking about an auxiliary gutter. So you can go to auxiliary gutters in the index and look underneath there. I'm sure you'll see something in there, probably derating or the number of. It'll say the number of or whatever like that. But for me, I know that you used our exam flashcards, right? And you know that we're dealing with, in this case, we're dealing with Article 366. So what do we do here is we're going to say, okay, let's go to the index. Let's go to the code, 366. And I'm not going to go down into this. This is an example today. We're going to show you why you don't necessarily have to always just run to the index, okay? If you understand the code references. Now, if you don't, that's fine. You can always go to the table of contents. You know that there is one on auxiliary gutter. You can use that to find your code reference. It just slows you down a little bit, but that's fine. And so you go down here and we go to 366. And let's see here. So here it is, auxiliary gutter right here, okay? Also, by the way, folks, spend some time, whether you get our flashcards or not, spend some time trying to learn everything. See you, David. Take care. Glad to have you with us this morning. All right. So we go to auxiliary gutter and we're going to bold scan, right? Bold scan. So we're talking about what? D rating, current carrying conductors, number of, all those things are trigger points that we're going to be bold scanning. We're going to look at it. So here, that's got nothing to do with it. Nothing to do with it, right? Use is not permitted. Nothing to do with it. Okay. Conductors connected in parallel. Nothing to do with it. Number of conductors. Ding, 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 ding. All right. So in our case, auxiliary gutter, and we're sitting there going, okay, well, what are we looking for? Well, since we're derating, we're obviously talking about what? Not fill, right? Not fill. We're talking about ampacity, okay? So the first thing I'm going to notice is I'm going to bold scan quickly, whether it's a sheet metal or, these type of things. We're going, okay. So I'm going to look through, and that can be important, right? So this one's telling me the adjustment factors in 310.15C1 shall be applicable to current carrying conductors up to and including the 20% fill. Okay, so you're saying, well, what does the question, here's the first thing a student will say. Well, Paul, the question is incomplete because it doesn't say whether it's a non-metallic auxiliary gutter or a metallic. It doesn't have to because the question makes reference to current carrying conductors and a number, and it gives answers. The answers is 20, 25, 30, and 50. So it doesn't matter whether the question is complete. You're not going to always get on an exam or in the real world everything that you want in a question, but you're given enough to be able to answer this question. So clearly in this question, there is a conductor value, right? And if you go look at the index, you go look at the code, there is no value down here when it comes to conductor numbers, okay? So you come up here and you say, well, here it says exceeds 30 at any cross-sectional area of the gutter. So you see the 30, that correlates, okay? So all of that type of stuff, so that's enough that makes you go, wait a minute, this answer can only be 30, okay? So again, that's a great example of where you may feel that the code question on an exam, you might, that didn't give me enough. Well, it didn't ask you for any percentage, it asks you for a number, okay? Because this is talking about the current carrying conductors. And these are conductor counts, not percentages. Doesn't say percentage after it. Okay, so whether it told you it was metal or PVC, it doesn't matter. Okay, so in this case, it's 30. And there's your code reference. 366.23a is exactly what we looked in. So this just happens to be a metal, sheet metal auxiliary gutter. But it didn't need to say that in here. Okay, in order to get there, you use the answers and how the language reads in order to get there. Okay, important thing to remember, you're not going to get exams that are perfect. You're going to get stuff that can be kind of a wonky question, but because of the answers and because of the question, you can get to the most logical choice. Okay, all right. Flexible cords that are rated for applications over 600 volts and are 12 AWG and larger shall be what? Copper only, not used, solid, or stranded. What do you think? Let's get some music going here. Hold on. I don't know why my sounds aren't working. There we go. I don't know what was going on with that. So what do you think? Flexible cords. So first things first. What is flexible cords all about? What is there an article for flexible cords? Right? Is there an article for this? Right? Well, the logical thing would be, well, obviously, some people say, well, it may be copper only, but not used. Well, again, it's hard to believe it would be not used. We're pretty much sure that when you get to those sizes, things like this, for flexibility, it's not going to be solid, okay? 600 volts or 12 and larger, it's probably not going to be solid, right? So if I remove the solid, I've got at least 3 options. So I got a 33% chance of getting this thing right, okay? Let's say not used is not, okay? It's still in the game, that type of thing. So at this point, we have to think about flexible cords, all right? Now, one of the things we can do with flexible cords is we can look at it and say, well, are we going to go to what article is flexible cords? 400. We can go bold scan 400. So this would be the first one that we're going to say, you know what? Let's go look at the index and see, okay, well, what does the index say? All right, so let's just go real quick. So we haven't done that yet. We're here at the index, and let's just say we'll go down to flexible chords and see what's under flexible chords. All right. I personally, just to be honest with you, just to be full transparency, I would probably just go to 400 in bold scan because I find it a lot of times easier. But let's go up here and let's see what we got here. So here's flexible chords. Okay, it says C chords. Okay, so we're going to go to chords. And now you'll forever remember that, folks, in the index. If you need to find something on chords, if this flexible, that you're not going to go to flexible, you're actually going to go to chords. So that's the why we also do that in here, right, is to see. So let's see here. Let's get back. Okay, here's chords. Okay, so what we're talking about is over 600 volts. Okay, so I'm going to come down and look and just see. Okay, so here's over 600 volts. Okay. Says 400.31 B. I don't know if that's the answer, but it gets us kind of in that area where we need to be. Let's see. Excuse me. Let's see here. Anything else? Just because we're here, definitely want to peruse down it. Okay, so here's over 600 volts. So part 3. Sorry about that. So that's one we're going to write down too. And I'm pretty sure that 400.31 is going to get us right about in part 3. So there you go. Let's see. But I'm showing you all the ways you could find it. Let's see what else we got here. Yada, yada. Okay. So that's the main application. Now, while I'm here, by the way, folks, just for craps and giggles, I also like to go look at over 600 just to see what it may say in that. If there's anything over 600. So bear with me. Okay, so here's over 1,000. Okay, so that may be over, but that's not really over 600. So it's over 1,000. So again, I'm probably not going to find anything in here that's worthwhile for this. Let's see here. Just kind of giving a look. Close. Because again, the question was over 600 volts, but I figured it's worth looking, right? Let's see. Don't see anything there. So I'm going to just go, because I know that I'm going to now narrow down my bold scan. I'm narrowing it down now. So when I narrow down my bold scan, what I'm going to do now is go to the NEC and know that I'm in part 3 of 400. So that at least narrows down my bold scanning. So I'm going to go to 400. We know that's 400 is flexible chords right there. And I'm going to go down to part 3 and right here. Okay. And I'll just start right here. And now I'm going to bold scan. So applies to single and multi-conductor portable cables used for connecting mobile equipment and machinery. There's a construction. Conductor shall be 12 copper and larger and shall employ flexible stranding. There you go. Okay. Boom, bada bing, bada boom. Now it sent us to B, but it doesn't matter because really we were trying to get here. And that's another tip about bold scanning. If it gets you somewhere, remember you may go this way or you may have to bold scan back this way. One of the tips that I like to do is if by chance it does give me, when we're bold scanning, if it does give me a part rather than a specific section, I like to go to the part because bold scanning is pretty important. But you know, there is a trick to bold scanning. You're not just looking at words. You're remembering, you have to do that. You have to practice this. You're looking for the trigger words when you're bold scanning. Okay. It's kind of like speed reading, if you will. You're going to use the answers and you're going to use the question and certain things in the question as you're looking at the headers. Okay. Charging statements for each one and you're bold scanning down. You'll get better at this the more you use it. Okay. The more you practice that scanning technique. Okay. So the index can get you started where you need to be, but bold scanning is still a very powerful way to do it. Okay. Now you may already know a certain area, or you may know that like I said, an article is very small, so you're like, dude, I'll just go bold scan, But the index is there. Get used to using it, but bold scanning is a powerful tool. All right, so obviously everybody says stranded. That's what it said in A. Okay, and the code reference is right there, 400.31a. Very good. All right. The size of the feeder circuit grounded conductor shall not be smaller than the required by what? 220.61, 250.66, 250.122, or 310.15b16. All right. These are interesting questions, kind of an interesting question for you to think about. We're talking about a feeder. Okay. So that's the first thing to remember. Okay. It's asking about a feeder circuit. So that should be your first trigger in your mind. You're thinking, okay, he's asking about a feeder. Now you might think, well, I'm just going to go to 250, right? And think, boom, I'll just go to 250. But you got to remember something. This is a feeder. It's not asking about equipment grounds. It's not asking about grounding electrode conductors. It's not asking about the any of that. It's asking for feeder. And we know that there's a specific article for what? Feeders. Now, feeder article is what? 215. So 215, again, is not big. Now, the one temptation to make sure that we stay away from is that this is asking about the grounded conductor. Okay, not asking about an equipment grounded conductor or anything like that. It's asking about the grounded conductor. However, it's where it's going to reference it. So how do I get started in this journey? Well, it's a feeder. So for me, it's going to be making a reference out of 215. So I want to go look at 215, and I'm going to bold scan rather than go back and look at the feeder, because this is a question that's kind of saying, chances are under feeders or anything in the back of the index, it's not going to have a structure where it says feeder circuit and then grounded conductor. It might say minimum size or something, but I know that 215 is not big, okay? And I'm not immediately going to jump to any of these because I need direction to get there, right? And what tells me to go there? Now, maybe you already know the answer, but I need to know how to get there. Now, deductive reasoning. We know that this right here is talking about, sizing the neutral, okay? And then we know down here, this is just the ampacity table, which is actually different for the 20. It's actually 310.16 for the 2023. This is what it would be in an earlier cycle, okay? All right, so that's what we're thinking about. Now, first go. So I'm going to go to the index. I'm going to go to the code. We'll go here first. What's up, Bill? Another CMECP in the room who chooses not to put CMECP after his name, folks. But Bill is a CMECP, okay? All right, so I'm going over here. Now, what I would do is I'm going to go to 215. Right here, feeder. And I'm going to bold scan, because what am I looking for? I'm looking for feeder, and I'm looking for grounded conductor, and I need something that says about the minimum size, that type of thing. All right? Take care, Thomas. Again, congratulations on getting your CMECP. You'll get an email from me shortly on certain things, and we'll get you all squared away. All right, so here you go. 215 bold scan, minimum sizing. Okay, at minimum sizing, and that's what we're talking about, sizing. And we're talking about minimum sizing for feeder. And this grounded conductor is part of the circuit, right? So we got minimum sizing here. So let's see here. So we have minimum sizing. It says the feeder conductor shall have an ampacity not less than the larger of 215.2A1 or A2 and shall comply with 110.14C. That's terminal temperature limitations, okay? So anyway, we're looking down here, and this is A, right? But B is this grounded conductor, right? So this is what gives us the direction to go. It says, the size of the feeder circuit's grounded conductor shall not be smaller than the equipment grounding conductor size required by 250.122, except that 250.122F shall not apply when grounded conductors are run in parallel. So it's saying, hey, so again, end of the day, you're going to be following what? You're going to be going to 250.122 for sizing for that. Now, all of you that knew to go to 250.122, again, that is for the equipment grounded conductor, but you will notice that in the 2023, the language is grayed out. See how this is gray? Okay. See, this is gray. or tan, I should say, tan. Because you have to get from point A to get there. So this is a process of navigating. So we knew to get there, you had to go from 215 to tell me that I'm okay to use 250.122. Okay, so y'all are right that chose the 250.122, but it's a method of how you get there, right? So there's your answer right there, 250.122b. All right, let's do another one here. Okay, AC or DC rated snap switches shall be allowed to be loaded to blank percentage of their rating when used on inductive type loads. So the triggers here, the key is this is a snap switch. It's an AC or DC, either one is allowed to be used up to a certain percentage of their rating, but when using them on an inductive type load, okay? So you're saying, okay, well, first thing that we identify is what? What's the first thing that we identify with this question? That it's a snap switch. Yeah, AC or DC, it's a snap switch, okay? And we're looking for percentages, so that's gonna be a trigger for us, percentages. And obviously inductive type loads is gonna make a difference because it, again, it's talking about inductive type loads, so that obviously has a percentage limitation on that switch for those type of loads. So this is a snap switch. Now, you could go to the table, the index, and under switches, it will probably have AC or DC snap switches, that type of thing. But for me, I'm thinking this is a general requirement. It should be up in the front. So I am going to go to 404. I am not going to, I'm going to bold scan it because I've got enough information that allows me to bold scan quickly. And switches is not a massively large article. Plus, I'm looking for a percentage value and the words inductive type loads. And I'm looking for AC and DC snap switches. That's going to make it pretty quick for me, okay? All right, so let's go to the NEC. I'm going to go to 404. Again, if you want to use the index, that's fine. I would go look under snap switches, that type of thing. All right, so I'm going to go to 404. I'm going to bold scan here. So I'm going to go to 404. Okay, so what I'm looking for is I'm looking for percentage values. I'm looking for inductive type loads. I'm looking for snap switches. And that's what's going to stop me when I get to those. So there's your scope. There's the switch connectors. Nope. Granite. Nope. Switching lighting control. Nope. Enclosures. Nope. Damp, wet. Nope. Timers. Nope. Positioning. Nope. Keep going. Indicating. Nope. That's not what we're looking for. Accessible and grouping. Nope. It's not part of my question. General use. Okay. So we're starting out. We're saying general use snap switches, but that's general use. Okay. That is not an AC or DC rated snap. That's just general use. But real quickly, I slow down and I'm looking for any value that would be 50, 80, 100, or 115. Okay. And anything with inductive type loads. So that's what we call about speed reading is you're just looking it over, looking for any of those values. Okay. I don't see anything in there with these values. Nothing about that is values. And mounting general snap, I don't see anything in there that's going to remotely have anything to do with the answers. And then I go through and I say, no. No. Look around. No. Nice switches. No. Rating. So remember the question's talking about the percentage of the rating. Okay. So rating and use of switches. And then one thing I go down here and I look at it and say, okay, what do I have to look at? All right. Well, there's an alternating current snap switch. Here's an alternating current or DC. That makes more sense. Okay, because that's what the question was talking about. And then what I'm going to do at this point is look for percentage values. I see 50% right off the bat. And also I look down and I see inductive loads, not exceeding 50%. That was much quicker than going to the what? Table of contents. So in that scenario, it's like, all right, well, obviously it's 50%. So that was... The way we did that was we went to 404. It's important to know your codes, sections, and articles and whatnot. Then I know we're dealing with snap switches, AC or DC, and we're looking for percentages, and we know it's specific to inductive type loads. So then we start bold scanning quickly, all right, until we get something that slows us down, reference to snap switches. Then we hyper-focus on the verbiage and remember what we're looking for, inductive type loads and a percentage value. We didn't see it. We scanned it quickly. We're moving down until we saw something that stops us. And that's when we saw AC or DC snap switches. We're like, okay, stop. And then immediately we start looking for anything that has a reference to the question. 50%, 100%, 80%, 100% at 115. And we saw the 50% and we saw that it was dealing with inductive type loads. So if you have an AC or DC snap switch and you're going to be using it on inductive type loads, then guess what? The AC or DC snap switch is allowed to be loaded to a certain percentage of its rating. So again, if dealing with inductive type loads, then it can only be loaded up to 50% of whatever that AC or DC snap rated switch is based on what the load is. So 20 amp load, 50% of that would be 10 amps. On a 20 amp snap switch, AC or DC snap switch that's being used for inductive type loads, then you're going to have limited load that you can put on that AC or DC snap switch. That's what it's talking about. It's a percentage, okay? Does that make sense? Hopefully. All right, let's go to another one real quick. All right. Okay, let's talk cable splices. Okay, cable splices and type MV, medium voltage cable joints, made and insulated by approved methods, approved by the AHJ. Usually cable splices and medium voltage cable joints, the manufacturers will give you guidance on how to splice that. Medium voltage, they will usually, most of the manufacturers make an actual kit for splice, that type of thing. Cable splices and type MV cable joints made and insulated by approved methods shall be permitted to be located within a cable tray provided they are blank and shall be permitted to project above the side rails if not subject to physical damage. So when they make the splices, because of the splices and because of how they make it, they are allowed to protrude above the actual sidewall of the cable tray. Again, as long as they're not subject to any physical damage. And usually where these cable trays are installed, it's probably not going to be subject to any physical damage. But again, so this is just saying you can. But here's the key. As it says, cable tray provided they are blank, accessible, grounded, 600 volts, or over 600 volts. Okay? So kind of one of those things you have to look at and say, well, what are we talking about? Okay? Well, the first thing I will tell you is to break this question down. The way this breaks this down is to look at this and go, what are we talking about? We're talking about doing this in what? A cable tray. So that's the concept of breaking a question down. What are we talking about? It's not about the splice. It's not about the cable. It's about where it's doing it. What is it doing it in? And this is in a cable tray. So this is about what's allowed to be done in the actual cable tray, right? So at the end of the day, we're going to go look at cable trays. What article is cable trays? You guessed it, 392. Now, you could go back into the index and look under cable trays. You could probably go back and look under the index under cable tray. It may say something about cable splices. It may say something even about cable joints, right? But at the end of the day, we're looking at what we're going to focus on. So today, the whole lesson here is to go to cable trays. So I'm going to throw to 392, knowing what we know here, talking about cable splices and MV joints. So those are keys to look for, joints and splices. I'm going to go see in the cable tray, I'm going to go bold scan. So for me, I'm going to go straight to 392. So, because I think it'll be quicker than actually going to the index. So I'm going to go to 392. Cable tray, drop that down. It's not a big article. And I'm going to scope it here. So now I know what I'm looking for. So there's the scope. All right, uses permitted. That's not what I'm looking for. Let's keep on going quickly. Uses not, nope, nothing in there. Cable tray installation. Nope, notice there's nothing in there about that information, right? I'm going to keep going through that. Cable and conductor installation. Okay, you're thinking, yeah, it might be something in here, but really doesn't look like there's anything that has to do with our application. Okay, so we're going to keep going. You may get your answer there, but again, there's no reference to 1,000 or anything like that in the question, right? It just says over 600, right? So I'm going to keep going. Number of conductors, that's not what it asks, although that's a very interesting topic about cable trays, but It is. I have an article on that, by the way. Make sure you go read my articles on my blog over on our website. Let's see here. Keep going. None of those are pertinent. Securing and supporting, nah. Nothing to do with expansion, no. Bushings, no. Look at here. Cable splices and type MV cable joints. Exactly what was in the question. And the moment that I look at this, I can see the word cable tray embedded right in the middle of it. So what does it say? Remember what the question? It says cable splices and type MV cable joints made and insulated by approved methods, okay, shall be permitted to be located within a cable tray provided they are accessible. Boom, boom, boom. So you got to be able to get to them, okay? So you can't make, and another good point is sometimes you have these cable tray systems that will actually are rated, and they may have a rating to go through a 2-hour wall. And so they put the cable tray will go into a segment of it that goes through the wall. Well, you obviously can't have splices in that segment because it's not going to be accessible. I mean, that should be common sense. There are other applications where it may be ran where you want to make splices in it, but it's just not acceptable. It doesn't say readily accessible, just accessible. Well, you have to determine it is. So most of the cable trays that I deal with are going to be accessible, right? A lesser threshold than what you would get for readily accessible. This is just accessible, right? So if you can get to them, that's a requirement. So can I have splices in there? When it says cable splices, remember cable trays are designed for cables. So whether I have MC cable in there or other different things, splicing can take place in a cable tray, which is a supporting system. It's not a box, it's a supporting system. The code allows you to make this as long as those splices are accessible, okay? And they are allowed to protrude above the side rail because maybe it's a bigger splice, as long as, again, none of that is subject to physical damage. And it may or may not be. I can't speak for every installation, okay? But I would say 99% of the time, wherever I'm going to install a nice, adequately done cable tray, it's not going to be subject to physical damage. Okay, I would go out on a limb and say that most of the time. All right, so accessible, that is the answer. All right, okay, let's spin the wheel and give away some goodness. Y'all have some great questions today. Y'all did a great job. Hopefully you use the examples I gave you in how to look at a question, how to break down a question, how to dissect it, those type of things. Hopefully you got something out of it. It's not just for licensing. It'll help you in the field as well. So make sure that you know, that's how you dissect the root cause and how, not root cause, how you dissect the root of a question so that you can try to find the answer by pulling out the most important pieces, right? The most important pieces of the question. Now, this is exam questions, but this could be real in the field questions that your apprentice brings to you or a journeyman brings to you if you're a master. And you have to listen to what they say and pull out the most important aspect to know where to start your journey. And it takes skill, but you'll get used to it, okay? All right, let's do some drawings here. Jonathan Battles, you are in the drawing for the NFC card. These are pretty cool cards. Excuse me. If you want to promote us, you leave what we put on there, but you can reprogram it if you win and put your company on it, your payout. Maybe you have online payments. You can tap your customer's card and they can do it. I use Linktree, so you can have a bunch of different options for your customer. We'll show you how to do that if you want. It's not a problem. But you can reprogram these cards to put whatever you want on it. But when you get it, if you win, it will have our stuff so that you can share it with other electricians and get everybody following our stuff. But you can reprogram it and do whatever you want. It's your card. You do what you want. All right? If you win it. All right. Let's do it again. And by the way, the drawing is basically right around 5 days away. I can't guarantee we're going to do it right on June 30th. Maybe the 29th or whatever. June 30th is my birthday, so depends on what's up, Haas? Seems to be a trend here with my wheel. So Haas, you're in the drawing also for the NFC card. Okay, so same thing I just said to Jonathan applies to you as well. Good luck on that. Jonathan, I'm sorry, something's going on there. Let me just do this again. I do not know what's going on with that. You don't want to get in that twice, Jonathan. So let me spin this thing again. Let's see what is going on with this thing. All right, Manny. Now, Manny, if you already have one of these or I sent you one of these and you don't want it, just let me know. If you do want it, make sure you send me your address so I can send you a wire waffle. We still have some remaining. Okay. This type of thing. So if you want one of these wire waffles, just let me know your address and I will send one out to you. If you want it, if you'd rather spin again, we'll spin again. All right, let's go. David, did you already win one of these? Hold on for a second, David. Let me look. Doesn't look like it. All right, so David, you're in the drawing for the grounding and bonding. So you're in that drawing. Congratulations. All right, let's spin one more. Let's do it again. No music. I got 4 engineering meetings today, which is another reason I had to get up and do it. Christopher, Fast Tracks 2. Chris, you might already have Fast Tracks 2. I'll give you the choice to spin again, or you can take the Fast Tracks tube and we'll just send us an email to remind us and we'll extend it out a year from whatever today is. That type of thing. Let us know. Okay, if you'd rather spin again, we will spin again. And let me know. Let's see here. All right, let me get back to me real quick. Okay, guys, I appreciate you joining me today on Coffee Hour. Tomorrow we'll probably have a little lesson. I'm not even sure what the lesson is. I'll check. I'll get with Jeff to do a lesson today. I did want to get back to some exam prep questions. All they are really is to get your juices back into it. You know, that type of thing. Yeah. So yeah, Jonathan, you're in the drawing for the NFC. So yeah, I would hang around. It's only a week from now to get that. So to see if you win that type of thing. But anyway, just thank you all for joining me today, and we'll catch you tomorrow on another episode of Coffee Hour with a little bit of a lesson. Talk about some things. Until next time, folks, stay safe. God bless, and thanks for joining me here. I know that you can do other things with your time, but we do appreciate you taking the time out of your day to join me and share it with everybody you know. I appreciate you. Take care. And remember, the replays are at 5 o'clock typically every day. So if you want to watch it again, go watch it at 5. Peace.